Welcome to Rockstar Launcher. I'm Weiwei Zhang, one of the co-founders of the firm Fulton Zhang PLLC. This month, we are featuring Brian Farlow, one of our rockstar litigators, who has a very long resume. He is a decorated Desert Storm veteran with over 27 years of active and reserve duty. And I'm just so honored and proud to be a partner of his. And Brian, would you please introduce our guest?
Sure, thank you, Weiwei. Today I brought with me Eric Faulkner, who is the owner and chef at a very unique cafe, the It Café, which is located at Hicks Airfield, out a little bit south and west of Fort Worth. And it's a unique location because he serves his meals right near a small private airfield. And so patrons can come out, and many do, not only to have great food, but also watch some small civil aviation planes take off and land.
Eric, how did you get into the restaurant business, and how did you find this unique location?
I started as a busboy at Chili's when I was 16, and I've just been in the restaurant industry ever since.
Fell in love with the business?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
How did you find this location?
I live in the area, and I was curious one day, so I drove through the airport, and I saw that the space was for lease, and I knew it had been a restaurant for a very long time, for several years, and so I called the building owner and signed the lease on it and opened up a breakfast place.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, and that was the start of why he's here is unfortunately the landlord, and Eric knew this, but the landlord and the Property Owners Association had been locked in some extensive civil litigation about whether a restaurant could be operated on the property. Clearly the landlord, one had been, and clearly the landlord thought that one could continue to be, and the Property Owners Association, the Hangar Owners Association, disagreed. And they had been in litigation for a couple of years. But when Eric started to open the restaurant, the property owners added him as a defendant.
So you walked right into this.
Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah.
And so it was the landlord's counsel thought that separate counsel would be prudent. And so they recommended me, and I met Eric, and we undertook the representation of Eric. And I'll let him say this is the first time you've been involved in litigation, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And so what was it like suddenly?
Quite the experience.
So you're a small business owner, you're a restaurant owner, which is a very difficult business to make it in. And now you're a party to civil litigation.
Yes.
What was your first meeting? What were you thinking in that first meeting when you met with me? I know we met out there. It's good food, by the way.
Thank you.
How was that?
I was asking myself, what have I gotten myself into?
And if you could tell us, because we don't, I mean, I'm a civil litigator, as you know, so that's kind of what I do. But small business owners, right? They avoid civil litigation if at all possible. So now, having sort of stepped in it, what were you looking for in your counsel? What were you glad to hear me tell you?
That we had a chance. That being a restaurant being there for 25 years before me, that it was pretty. It was pretty straightforward that I could be there.
And what did it take in terms of your time commitment? I mean, in terms of attending the trial and the injunction hearings?
It took me away from the restaurant for almost 2 weeks.
And how did you? I mean, again, not being someone who attends trial regularly, I mean, was it like? LA Law, that's kind of dating me, or Suits, or what did you expect going into it?
It was entertaining. I did feel like I was on TV the whole time, or thought I was doing a show, but yeah, it was very entertaining.
And so you got to, now many of the witnesses you knew, both as hangar owners and obviously as the landlord.
Yes.
and then you yourself got to testify.
Yes.
And so tell the audience what that was like. Again, not being a regular participant in civil litigation.
It was very stressful until I actually went up on the stand. And then once I started answering questions, it became more relaxing.
And what did, and again, were there things that we were able to do to try to mitigate that stress for you? I mean, trying to take it off your plate as a small business owner?
Yes. Yeah, I think just the questions that were asked and everything were really easy. And just seeing and watching the other witnesses go up before me kind of really eased things.
All right. And when we were, you mentioned it a little bit like TV. Can you tell us, I mean, obviously I got to cross-examine several witnesses that the homeowners or the property owners association put up. How do you find that cross-examination aspect of it?
It was very entertaining. I really enjoyed that. Was probably the best part of the whole trial. I enjoyed was the cross-examinations of their witnesses.
I've heard a little bit about their expert witness being cross-examined by you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I don't think I did. We split to keep the cost down. We tried to divide the witnesses up amongst the landlord's council and myself as much as possible. And so the landlord's council took the experts, but we had a few questions. But the primary were the association's president.
Okay.
And a couple of I guess they were expert. They weren't real. They were pilots who thought they had some expertise, I would say, more so than there was an alleged expert witness that came in and testified about safe operation at an airport. But the property owners, the hangar owners that we took on, we did get to cross-examine them, and I'm sure Eric remembers. I watched as a witness battled. The issue was whether a gate was open or closed. The witness had battled the landlord's counsel for the better part of 40 minutes about what was open and what was closed. And so, taking a page from my cousin Vinny, I just asked the witness if he could tell me the door behind him was open or closed.
Yeah, that was great.
and he wouldn't answer the question. I'm not sure I would have done that if we had a bench trial. So probably get a little more leeway with the judge.
Right.
Not sure I would have done that with a jury, but I think it was highly effective. I think that was part of it. Ultimately, Eric, what was the result?
Oh, we won. Yeah, it was great.
So they've appealed it. But we were able to get a complete jury verdict, bench verdict in the landlord's favor, in your favor. Mm-hmm. And it was also an opportunity to work with, obviously the landlord has a long-term interest, right? I mean, Eric's just one tenant, right? The landlord has the most significant interest in making sure that her property can be used as she sees fit within the confines of the deed restrictions. But in this case, it directly impacted Eric, mm-hmm. And also I felt that the hangar associations was really waging economic war. Right, this was a very expensive aspect for a young, brand new restaurant owner, and if they can put them out of business economically, then that's just as good as winning. I admired the fact that he stuck with it and did not
back down.
Did not back down.
That's what they wanted me to do, was back down.
Yeah.
And that can be difficult. I mean, in most business cases, it's manned by both sides are businessmen, right? I do all commercial litigation, and very little goes to trial because when both sides have business people who look for business solutions, chances are there's an opportunity for a compromise, right? Something can be salvaged to give each side something. Unfortunately, in this case, with the Property Owners Association, although we tried valiantly to come up with some operational concessions that would address some concerns they had, they flat out simply wanted the restaurant closed, and so that led to there was no compromise there.
So the main thrust of their issue was that safety. Was it based on safety? That
was one of their arguments. Their other argument was that. There was we believe, fairly convoluted reading of the deed restrictions that allowed them to not prevent a restaurant, even though one had been there for, like I said,
25 years,
25 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing was to essentially cut the administration building off. That's the building the landlord owns from the general public. So the idea was to close the airport and make it private, which essentially would separate the restaurant from its customers.
Right.
And so obviously that's something that we can't agree to. And so it was it was contentious. And while I believed up through trial that there was a way to, a restaurant had been in there for 25 years. There was a way to have a restaurant run there and do it in a manner that didn't impact overall safety. There was no interest in reaching a compromise, and so we had to try it. And I'm sure it was stressful for Eric to do that. Yeah. But the best thing is I got to go out there and eat. I've been out there a couple times. So I just want you to tell the audience, because your food is really good, right? And I'm not saying that as your lawyer, because it's really good. But some of the best sellers you have out there.
It's our Southern Skillet. It's eggs, potatoes, cheese, gravy.
So you serve breakfast,
lunch,
and dinner?
We serve breakfast and lunch. Yeah, now we serve dinner on Friday and Saturday nights.
Okay.
So, but we saw a lot of items with chorizo in them. A chorizo skillet, chorizo omelet, and chorizo tacos. People really like.
Yeah, and they have a great chicken and waffles.
Yeah, chicken and waffles is really good. Everything's made from scratch. We sell a lot of pancakes. We have really good pancakes. They're real big. So
all different flavors.
All different
too.
flavors. Yeah, we've got all kinds of blueberries, pecans, strawberries.
Yummy.
Yeah, he did this during the trial, by the way, describing to the judge. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, now I'm hungry. But I think, and one of the, as someone who litigates frequently, right? I wanted to allow Eric, to have his day in court, to have access to the court system. Because that, unfortunately in this case, that was really what kept him open, right? Because we were able to be successful, so he could continue to operate the It Café. And so one of the things, that Fulton Zhang, because of our virtual setup, allows is the ability to not have huge overhead and have clients have to carry those kind of fees. So I think I was thankful that kind of structure allowed us to represent, a restaurant owner, right? And my brother owns a restaurant, so I know how stressful it is. Right. And really gave, me the opportunity, I think, I hate saying this, but do the right thing, right? Represent the right side, right? Obviously we won, but to me that was critical, because without our ability to do that as a firm, Fulton Zhang to do that, then I don't think Eric gets a lawyer. And if he doesn't get a lawyer,
that really is the premise of our business model, is to have a firepower of someone with Brian's caliber, and yet not be out of pocket, for as much as what some of these big firms demand.
And it's expensive. We had 3 days of TRO hearings and 5-7 days of bench trial.
They threw everything at you. Yeah.
And so I think 12 witnesses on their side.
Wow.
And when you are sitting in court all day, that's your lawyer, that's expensive. And then you have to prepare for the witnesses the next day. And I think, again, keeping in mind that small business owners, are not an endless money pit. We're able to figure out with the landlord's counsel, right? Obviously, they have, in my view, a bigger dog in the fight, so they should carry more of the water in terms of it's her space. Right. They were also suing her because she had turned one of her hangars into a bed and breakfast, right? Yeah. So,
wow.
So there were other fights about land use within the Hicks Airfield, and there are a lot of businesses out there. Car fix-it, repair places, hot rod customizations. So it's their big metal hangars, and then the administration building where the restaurant is. So the landlord was fighting other issues besides the admin building, and so again, and I think Eric would echo this. It's about getting the result we need, getting the best opportunity to put on your case, but not look at it as a chance just to generate revenue, right? You know, that's
Absolutely.
right. And so we had Gunter Barber was the associate working for the landlord, and we again
Yes.
worked hard to make sure that, you know, we didn't overlap, we didn't do things twice. Which, as a litigator, I tell you, I think the court appreciated. I think the court thought that we were as efficient as we could be. I usually got to cross-examine last and would tell the judge, you know, I only have a few questions. I only have 3 or 4 questions. And he would always say, I'm going to hold you to that, Mr. Farlow. And so keep it short. But often, again, I was able to, maybe I only needed to drive 1 point home or make 1 point, right? I don't want to repeat all the questions that just got asked. Many of the answers were helpful for us anyways. I want to keep them. So it was about maybe hitting just the high notes, you know, and then just sitting down. So I think it was a challenge. You know, a lot of lawyers can get wrapped up in the issues, and you know, there's a criticism that lawyers have, right? When they're paid by the hour, they look under every rock, right? You got to look under every rock to, and I think that's a legitimate criticism. You got to be careful. That incentive can be there. And so I think the understanding though with a client is we can't look under every rock, right? You know, unless you're Microsoft or Google, and even then you probably shouldn't do it. Instead, it's look under the rocks that you think are most likely to produce what you want, right? And there's some risk there, but also it's being efficacious. And I think at the end of the day, I know we answered some document production, right? I mean, we were as light and as efficient as we could be so that we could present our argument in court and get the ruling that we wanted. And it really made me, I mean, again, being able to represent a small businessman in a very contentious piece of litigation where, do you think it's fair? I think the judge thought we were the white hat. We were, because we weren't the landowner, we weren't the property owner, and we weren't the property owners association. They clearly have been locked in a fight for 2 years. Right. And then the guy that's just, you know, making food gets drug into it. So we I think that's true. I think that was, at the end of the day, that was true. Not that Eric didn't know that the litigation was going on, understood that it could, you know, I think he was surprised he was actually made a party by the homeowners association.
So that was a surprise.
That was a surprise. I mean, I thought I'd be a very small role in it if anything were to happen. And
they can fight it out. You just stay here. And
that's what I really thought would happen.
And we pushed for that. After all, the property owners association could litigate against the landlord, and if they were successful, the landlord couldn't. Eric's lease would end, right? If they couldn't do it. And so I didn't feel there was really no reason to drag the restaurant into it at this stage, other than to try to put that kind of economic pressure on him. And so, you know, I did my best to not inadvertently put that on him by, you know, billing crazy. And the landlord worked hard too. I think everyone understood that we were better off. I didn't think it was I think they were a necessary party. You know, if you went against the landlord, you can't operate or can't lease to a restaurant there, then Eric's done, right? So I think it didn't serve much of a purpose. He has a lot of support. Many hangar owners come in and eat. It is the closest place to get food. They are on an airfield, so if they don't want to cook, right, they have to go off the airfield, and yet there's a restaurant right there. So with excellent food, and a lot of kids come and watch a
lot of kids, yeah.
And so you mentioned safety. What were some of the things that you did to improve because he did renovate the restaurant a great deal before he opened it up. So what were some of the things that you did to?
Before the entrance of the restaurant, you'd have to walk around the building and pass where the planes were parked to get inside the restaurant. And then I opened up the patio and put the entrance where the patio was, so you go directly from the parking lot to the patio and walk through the patio to get to the entrance. And then we also put a fence up that divides the planes and the car. There's car parking and then there's plane parking.
So there were no fence.
There was no fence
and
before.
you put one
And we
up.
put one up. Yeah, my landlord put one up. And then also we have safety signs located in the restaurant everywhere that explains that the planes have the right of way. Planes can't back up because cars and planes share the taxiway to get to the airport or to get to the restaurant.
Okay.
And so, and then we have signs that direct cars from the gate to the restaurant that takes them off the main taxiway and onto the middle taxiway because it has less traffic on it to get to the restaurant. So we've done quite a bit.
And that's, I think, makes it, I think, a destination, place to go eat breakfast.
We need to
because,
have a field trip.
Yeah, you go out there and again, there are no roads once you get on, they're just taxiways. And so, and that's part of getting out the safety message and making sure people are, one, aware of that, and two, what to do, because it's possible that you'll come face to face with an aircraft. Not a big one, right? These are all private civil aviation prop planes, but you still need to, move out of its way and let it pass in order to do it correctly. So, that's a challenge as a restaurant owner. I think Eric met it head on, and that's where I thought we were going to have maybe a chance for compromise because it wasn't a case of just doing it my way. We asked repeatedly the property owner association, what more do you want us to do for safety? Do you want a bigger sign or to have say something or something, right? And they did not. They refused, and so and that was. And that's their right. They have their position in civil litigation, but I don't think it was approached on their side as a business. Right? It wasn't a business decision, because again, my experience with civil litigation and where I have two businesses on both sides is ultimately the business guys are able to come up with some compromise where something is done because both sides recognize the inherent cost of litigation, the inherent risk of litigation, and litigation often. Not always, but often is an all or nothing proposition. So there's no longer a splitting of anything when you wind up in the litigation. Some person wins everything and the other person gets nothing. And with those risks and the inherent, you cannot absolutely predict what 12 people are going to do for example, if it's a jury trial. I just finished a jury trial and waiting for the jury to deliberate, it is a very odd feeling to realize you have just turned over critical decision-making to 12 people you don't know, right? That's what a jury is. And while it's our system and it's the best system I think out there, it's still strange, right? To be like, okay, you guys decide everything. I think
we're
business
happy
owners,
to say he won that one too.
yes, we're successful there. Well, thank you. But I think it's the same. And I think that's, obviously in a bench trial, the judge can ask questions. The judge is more interactive than a jury who can't do that.
Fact finder.
Correct. And applicant of the law. I think it was pretty clear from the judge's questions where he was coming down on things. Yeah, and part of it is he's trying to make sure he understands everything. And again, he can be more active than a jury ever can be. So I think he worked very hard. He certainly he did not short any party any time. I thought it was almost a luxury, the amount of time. Hard because it's expensive, but at the same time, I don't think any party felt like they didn't have their opportunity to fully put their case on and explain, and put their best case forward, right? So I think the parties did, both in the injunction hearings and the actual trial. So I thought it was a well-run bench trial. We did stop and start because, again, with a jury trial, you obviously can't send the jury away and bring them back, but a judge may build in half day here, half day there, because he's his schedule. A little more flexible, but at the end of the day, he let the lawyers try their case and put their witnesses on. And I know that Eric, when you were sitting in the courtroom, right? Once you got done testifying, was it just more relaxing back there? Or?
Yes. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching you cross-examine everyone.
Well, it was a interesting opportunity to put on a case on some very narrow legal issues. In particular, and this is one of the ironies, I'm not going to say this is the linchpin of the case, but the fact remained that if you're worried about safety in the great American public, right, the people that don't own stuff on the airfield, the only entity, not even the Property Owners Association, the only entity that put up signs and put up safety information and put up on their Facebook page safety briefings was the restaurant. And I think that was an effective fact that we drove home, that the Property Owners Association is telling that they want to close the restaurant because they're concerned about safety.
But
they don't brief the great American public, right? The people that they're most concerned about. They presume if you own a hangar, you're going to be safe out there, which may not be a good assumption, but anyways, they seem to do that. But then all the safety briefing, all the safety information at the time was behind a paywall. So the great American public couldn't get it. The only place, I mean, we didn't invent it. We borrowed it and took what they put out to the property owners and we put it up to the public and said, this is what you got to do. And I think, again, safety is a serious thing. And Eric certainly wants no harm to come to his customers. But we really believed that was an opportunity to do stuff. And that was an interesting cross-examination when we knew that fact was true, that we put out more information to the great American public about safety than anyone else out there. And I think he had not done that, right? That's usually not what restaurants do.
Yeah.
But he knew to be a good neighbor, right? That's the bottom line, right? And any property association just wants you to be a good neighbor, right? You don't want to tear stuff up. Any neighbor, be a good neighbor. And he went out, I think, to be a good neighbor, serve good food too.
Well, I've been through a few cases with you on your team or with you by my side. And I have to say, there's no better child firepower you want to be on your team. He's definitely somebody who's going to carry the weight and not leave any man behind, you know. Yeah. Borrowing a little bit from your Army days, you just want Brian on your side to get to your goal, for sure.
I think one of the things we talked about, Eric, early on was, what are the objectives? It's not just trying a case. It's not even winning a case, although I'm happy to do that. It's about, when I work with businessmen, business clients, what's their objective? What can we achieve? And sometimes it's reminding them that, when they're angry, when they're irked because things have gone badly, some of the Property Owners Association said some not nice things at some point in time, right? It's easy to get angry. And the point is to remind them, let's approach this. Litigation is a business decision, right? It's a risk analysis, risk mitigation. Let's try to take the emotion out of it and see if we can stick to that stuff. And sometimes it's myself that, I can get frustrated and annoyed. In my jury trial, I got very frustrated and annoyed with opposing counsel's comments. And I had told everyone that I told you the same thing, right? We look like everything happens in that courtroom. It's exactly what we thought was going to happen, right? We have a poker face. I was getting frustrated and annoyed, and Gunnar Barber slid me a note that said poker face, and so I'm not used to getting my stuff quoted back to me. But it was right. He was right, and I think the same thing. Sometimes it's me telling a business client, "Hey, think about this from a business perspective. What are we trying to do here? And let's keep it on that sort of cold, calculating analysis, rather than getting or staying all worked up. Not that you can't be angry. Go be angry, and then let's come back and think about what we can do."
Well, I think we are about out of time, and it's just been so fun talking to you about your case.
Thank you.
And we look forward to coming out and sample your pancakes and all the yummy stuff.
It is very, very good. Good wings, and the banana pancakes, the pecan banana pancakes, are well worth it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you, Brian.